Welcome everyone to Couch Potato Diary. My name is Peter Klein. Thank you very much for hanging out today. Again, not doing the live thing. For podcast listeners, they're all taped, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, taping another episode for you guys here today with a lot to talk about in the sports world. Before we get to that, do want to remind you that, as always, we are presented by Sea of Dead. Head over to seaofdead403.ca and grab all that great Calgary swag. So, obviously, Olympic hockey, we have to talk about it. Men's and women's sides. From a Canadian perspective, a little bit different, but we will see how that all goes on Sunday morning. We got that, we got baseball, we got wrestling, a ton of stuff to get to on the show today. So please, if you are watching this on YouTube, hit that like button, hit subscribe, share this with a couple of friends. It would really help grow the show. If you are listening, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and leave us a nice review, because those things really do help grow the program. So now that is all out of the way, let's dive right in. It has been a long time since we have had best-on-best hockey at the Olympics on the men's side, and thus far, it has not disappointed, as the knockout stage, the elimination round, whatever you want to call it, has been drama all the way through, and it leads to the result that a lot of people wanted. It's Canada and the US for gold. How did we get here? With a lot of very incredible performances. So let's break it all down, shall we? So, the Olympics have been insane on the men's side. Just in general, it has been a very fun Olympic Games to take in. Really enjoy so many the fun stories that you always get from an Olympic Games. We have had those on full display. But obviously the focus here is going to be on the NHL involvement on the men's side. And just an incredible tournament. A bit of a slow start, admittedly. It was not ideal with I don't know if there's a better way to do it. The round robin didn't provide a whole lot of drama, but it set the stage for what has been an incredible quarterfinals into the semifinals and all of that with overtime games. And then today's semifinals, USA against Slovakia was certainly lacking in the drama department, but Canada-Finland more than made up with it, as Nathan MacKinnon scores with 35.2 seconds left to give Canada a 3-2 win, advancing to the gold medal game against the Americans on Sunday morning. And there's a lot of different storylines coming out of this. One that I feel like, I don't want to say is under-discussed or underrated or anything like that, because it's weird to talk about this player in those terms, but Connor McDavid is having an exceptional tournament. And it's, you almost take it for granted, because it's like, yes, no, the best player in the world is playing very well. Cool, breaking news, hot take, let's get all the social media things out there and really load this thing up. But he has found another level. He has added a physicality to his game, and even amongst the best players in the world, he is stepping up and having the biggest games and having the biggest impact. And the speed is incredible. The decision-making that he can use or utilize at that high level of speed is second to none. To be able to do everything that he does at the speed and precision in which he does it is off the charts. And it is, again, it's just like he has found another level. But it's not like everything is just rushed. You look at the power play goal that they scored against Finland to get back into it at 2-1. They tried a couple of times to get it to Reinhart in the slot, but it was obvious that Finland was kind of collapsing on that. And so McDavid, he has a look there for a second. He's on the half wall on the side nearest to us on the broadcast. He has a look into the slot for a second that could be open for Reinhart, but instead, let's spread this thing out a little bit. Gets it up top to Makar, and the shot gets deflected in by Reinhart. Just recognizing like, hey, this plan of attack isn't working. What is out here? Oh, this is. Get it to the point. Puts the shot through. Reinhart gets a desperately needed goal, and the Canadians are back in this hockey game. So it is just, he is seeing everything at an elite level. He is playing at an elite level, and it really does feel like the best player in the world is getting better at this best-on-best tournament. On the other side of the coin, it has to be frustrating for Nathan MacKinnon, who was the best player in the NHL for the first part of the season, but is obviously dealing with some kind of an issue for the Canadians here in this Olympic Games. Some kind of an injury or something. It doesn't get better today as he collides. I think it was Rupe Hintz that collided with him in the middle of the ice there. Yeah, I think second period. But it's the fact that he is still able to get some stuff done is pretty remarkable because he's obviously dealing with something. And you see, like, he gets a bit of a burst going and tries to get in on the attack. And then he's able to still hammer the shot on goal and put it in to give Canada the decisive blow against Finland. And it's basically like it's honestly a reminder of McDavid. I forget if it was last year or 2 years ago where Draisaitl was banged up, and so they kind of put him with McDavid not just to load up a line, but almost because you have to, because he wasn't able to carry things because he was banged up in the way that he was. McKinnon almost feels like that at this point, where it would be great if it was Crosby on the second line. We'll talk about that in a second here. It would be great if it was Crosby on that second line, but you almost have to go with the nuclear option because McKinnon isn't necessarily going to be that driver on his own line in the way that you would want him to be if he was completely healthy, but still finding ways to get the job done. Nathan McKinnon playing at that high level. And as they head toward the gold medal game, Sidney Crosby's status is the biggest story in Canada, whether he can play in this game or not. I wonder, even if he does play, how much is he going to be able to go? There's a bit of me that wonders if he's just going to be a bit of a distraction out there. Not a distraction, but a decoy, either on the power play or just getting a little bit of run 5-on-5 and just being that presence on the bench, that calming influence on the bench to try to help them go. But there's part of me that's like, if he's dressed, he's playing. Like, there's going to be no keeping him off the ice if he's going. So that's going to be a very interesting thing to watch. And then who do you sub out? Like, Hagel played 7 minutes today. I don't know if he was remarkably effective. They don't exactly play the same style, but a lot of people were very frustrated with Sam Bennett right until they weren't, as he went just full tank into the goaltender UC Saros and drew the penalty that led to the first goal of the game. But the Sam Bennett experience taketh and the Sam Bennett experience giveth as well, as that line was instrumental in getting the second goal for the Canadian squad. But it'll be interesting, the lineup decisions, man. If Morrissey is ready to go, that would be a very big one for Canada. It was obvious in this game that more offense is needed from the point, and I think against the Americans, one thing that's going to be very important is getting the puck out of your own end. Canada hasn't faced a ton of resistance before these last two games here, but one thing that has been a problem throughout is once teams kind of do get set up, it's tough for Canada to get it going the other way. When they do, there's a ton of speed and everything is great, but getting it out of their own end has been a bit of a problem at times. Morrissey would be such an upgrade in that over whether it is Sanheim or Doughty or whoever you would pull out. He would be a major improvement for Canada. But we're talking about all these lineup changes that could be made, and we're talking about them coming off of, again, another white knuckle, but a victory for the Canadian side. And I think this game shows the strength of this team. And I have been frustrated at times with how Canada has put some of these teams together, focusing not as much on the skill aspect of it as I would like them to. But you can see the method to the madness in a game like this, because it was about Plan C that Canada finally started to get going. Plan A, obviously for this team, is the speed and skill that they have, especially with the Mach 3 line, with McDavid, McKinnon, and Celebrini. And then some of the other guys behind, like Horvat's not known for his skating, but he still has been playing at a pretty good pace in this tournament. And there's other guys who can do it as well on the blue line, Makar, and Harley to a certain degree also. But the first one is creating with the elite offensive talent that they have. The second is throw everything into the corner and just go crash, bang, boom, try to retrieve it, set something up, and get the goal. And it was obvious early on, not a lot's coming off of the rush for this Canadian side. It looked like, I made this reference on the radio, it looked like, watching it on TV, like the 90s arcade games with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where you would think, okay, we got two guys behind us, and then the camera would pan, and there's still five guys there. How, like, it felt like there was always a Finnish player right in the exact right spot, and that's how they have coached these teams for forever. That's how they've been what they have been in international competitions. So that speed element for Canada wasn't going to be there. The forechecking also wasn't going to be there because of very good skating defensemen like Heiskanen, because again, everyone is in the right spot where they need to be. They're able to just like quick one touch out and clear that scoring opportunity, done. So the next was obviously, that's not going to work. Try to get some kind of a zone entry and then get some traffic in front of UC Saros. In Brad Marchand's case, on top of him, and then get that traffic, get a deflection, and try to create off of that. So it was Plan A didn't work, Plan B didn't work, Plan C didn't work. But that's why you have a roster that is put together in this way so that, okay, the McDavid thing, like he's excellent, but that's going to be at least a little bit limited. Can we try the Tom Wilson forecheck thing? Okay, that's not going to work. Now can we try Makar and Theodore from the point with Marchand and Reinhart in front of the goal? Oh, hey, look at that. We got a couple of them. Now we've created a power play. Now we've scored. Now we've won this game. So I still would quibble with a couple of decisions, but it's tough to say that with a team that's going to go play for a gold medal. And not to be lost in all of this, but also Jordan Binnington. He wasn't the game saver in the way that he was against the Czech Republic with like Nate just coming in on a breakaway and stuff like that. But still, just doing what he needed to do again, proving to be that big game goaltender that he has been for Canada in these. But he's going to have to do it again. And that was maybe his biggest performance was against the Americans in overtime at the Four Nations. They're going to need him again because there are going to be moments where this USA team and their offense is going to overwhelm this Canadian side. It's going to be up to Binnington to make sure that those stay out of the net, and it's going to be up to the rest of the team to make sure that those stretches don't last forever. But this is going to be an incredibly difficult test against an American team that has the high-level skill at the top of the lineup with guys like Eichel and Matthews and the Tkachuk brothers and all of that. They do have some crash-bang-boom in JT Miller and Vincent Trocheck, and they have a blue line that's exceptional with a goaltender who looks like the best goalie in the world again in Connor Hellebuck. It's going to be interesting to see how they match up these two sides. Canada has gone with the nuclear option before, and when they're trailing, that has been something that has helped them out. But if Crosby can play, and if you can stack up and just kind of spread it out a little bit, when you have McDavid and McKinnon, whatever he can be, and Celebrini playing the way that he is, and that high-level elite offense, like it feels like it is almost a wash. But the bottom six can be a real strength for Canada, because I have more trust in Horvat, Marchand, Bennett, Suzuki, Hagel, whoever stays in the lineup, Jarvis, whoever. I have more trust in that than I do JT Miller and Vincent Trocheck over on the other side. So that how they match up everything is going to be very, very interesting to watch as that game goes along. So I can't wait. What have you guys thought? Like, it's been an amazing tournament from my perspective. Round robin was a little mid, but the rest of it has been a whole lot of fun. But what are you looking for now as Canada gets set to take on the Americans very early on Sunday morning out here in the Mountain Time Zone, hoping to go live after that game is done. Result pending, but hopefully going to come on here and have some fun chatting about the gold medal game and the wrapping up of the Olympics just in general for 2026. So make sure to keep it locked on my socials at Primetime Klein on Instagram, X, TikTok, Threads, and Blue Sky to know when we are going live after that Canadian game. So that's the men's portion of it. The women's did not go Canada's way. They were able to keep it close in the gold medal game, but one thing remained very clear as the USA was celebrating a gold medal victory against the Canadians. The better team won that game, and Canada has some catching up to do. Let's talk about it, shall we? So yes, Hockey Canada now has a little bit of work to do as they fall on the women's side to the U.S. in the gold medal game. 2 losses against the Americans in this tournament. And if you watched the first one, the second one is surprising because it was all USA. And they were all over the Canadians. And that second game, Canada was able to hold on as much as they could. But I don't think you can watch those games and come away with any thought other than the U.S. is ahead right now. And like when you watch that first one, we talk about how, oh, well, it's, you know, these two teams don't really get tested. It looked like those games. Like it looked like USA against Sweden or whoever in the international competition. It didn't look like a Canada-USA game. The second one did, but the second game, again, it was more reliant on Debian being awesome between the pipes and just trying to hold on and then getting somewhat of a transition opportunity and trying to break your way through. Canada looked slower, Canada looked less talented, and they just didn't look as good as their American counterparts. And it is difficult to criticize because this is a golden era of women's hockey for this country. Not only when looking at Olympic medals or world championship medals or anything like that, but these are the players that, along with obviously help from the American side as well, but these are the players that have helped get them their opportunities with the PWHL and the rivalry series and all of that. Like, because of how good on both sides, but right now we're talking about the Canadians, how good those players have been, the interest was there to help really usher in this new era for women's hockey in this country and in North America. But there needs to be a new wave. And you can't just go, okay, well, Sarah Fillier is going to be our next MPP and everything's going to be fine. Because that is just wildly misunderstanding why they were able to go from the Cassie Campbell, Pascal, Haley Wickenheiser era into the Murray Philippe Poulin era. It wasn't just MPP came and, we were saved and everything went back to normal. It was her, it was Nurse, it was Jenner, it was Spooner, it was Mashmeyer in goal. It was this wave of players who were able to usher in, like I said, a different era for this team. And there isn't that. It's Fillier and then the vets, basically, that this team was reliant on. That there has not been enough focus on getting another layer of skill and talent developed and up to this caliber and getting it ready. And so right now, they are on the back foot. And they have some catching up to do. The U.S. has done a very good job of utilizing the NCAA and obviously the PWHL as well. I'm now interested to see how Canada goes about that. There's incredible hockey talent all over, right? Like, finding the talent isn't the problem. It is acclimating that talent into your system and getting them ready for the highest level that this sport has to offer, and that is Canada against the US in a best-on-best competition. They have not done a good enough job of bringing younger players into that system and letting them know what this level is like, and so now they do feel like they are a step behind. And I think the biggest factor is just not learning lessons from some of the close calls. Like, you think back to when the US was going for the empty net goal and it hit the post and the Canadians were able to come back, tie the game, and eventually win it. It felt like they had a couple of those where they would lose in the round robin. When it got to the championship time, they would squeak out a victory, and it felt like Hockey Canada's response was, well, there you go, got it again. Being Canadian was all it took. And just wanting it more and playing it the right way and all of those things. That was enough for evil to be vanquished once again. And not taking lessons from, okay, it's great, we won, let's celebrate. We need to get better because they're getting better. And it's very close. And if you were to judge it honestly, there was a few games that I think Canada won that maybe the deserve to win a meter might be tilted over to the American side of things. So hopefully now this is a wake-up call that the talent is there. The experience is there. Like, if you want to, you can have a lot of these players back to help guide this next generation to where they need to get to, but you need to start implementing that because they are very obviously behind the Americans now in terms of a program. And that was on, I think, full display at the Olympics in what was a dramatic, incredible game to close things out in the gold medal game. But I think it is clear Canada's just not where the Americans are at right now. What do you think? Am I off base? Or is there something else that maybe is separating these two sides that I'm not looking at? Let me know. If you're watching, let me know in the comments. Or if you're listening, hit me up over on social media and we can talk about it there. But one thing I also want you to do is hit that share button. If you're watching this on the video, I guess you can share podcast episodes too. Hit that share button and send this out to a few of your hockey watching friends, and we can keep the discussion going with all of them. Again, really focusing on trying to grow this as much as I can while doing some other jobs and all of that, but really focusing on trying to grow this as much as we can, and you guys sharing those videos is a gigantic help in that process. So I would greatly appreciate that. Let's move now into the world of Major League Baseball. We are on the eve of spring training for the Toronto Blue Jays, as pitchers and catchers have all reported full squads are there for as long as they will be with the WBC happening in a couple of weeks. But it wasn't necessarily the start to spring training that the Blue Jays were hoping for, with nothing but bad news coming in the first couple of days. How do they respond? How should Toronto maybe pivot on this? let's talk about what has been a bit of a start to the spring for the defending American League champions. So, not the start to the spring that we were hoping for the Toronto Blue Jays, as Anthony Santander is out until probably around the trade deadline. Bowden Francis is out for the season, and Shane Bieber is slowly ramping up after forearm fatigue. And I've joked about it on the radio out here a couple of times. After, Canada Day and the home run and the grand slam from Springer and all the great moments that we had throughout the postseason, obviously it didn't end the way we wanted it to, but still, there was a lot of momentum. And then you come into the offseason, and no, they don't get Bo or Tucker, but they get Cease, they get Okamoto, they're able to land Ponce, like they're able to do these things. You kind of forgot that bad things could happen to your baseball team, and that's what we got a big dose of in the spring. So it is a setback. Kind of break them down one by one. Santander, I think, is kind of the bigger one, because now, and yes, they make the move, and kind of shore up their lineup a little bit, but still, for the most part, this was a lineup that had a lot of best case scenario in it, and now you are replacing Bo Bichette, and you needed Santander to have that bounce back year. Now, the lineup does look a little bit lacking. Like, it feels like it is a bat away from being where you would want it to be. And having that news come down at this point in the offseason, where it's not the offseason anymore, it's spring training, to have that come down before you could really go out and fix it, or after you could really go out and fix it, is really unfortunate. So, I have in my notes here, we're not going to go too hard on it. Has delaying surgery ever really worked? Like, it'll extend some things, but it feels like it's not, oh, well, he could have had surgery, but he just kind of rehabbed out of it, and it's been 3 years, and it's been fine. I'm sure there are examples, but it feels like it tends to just be better to just try to get that over with, understanding that the Blue Jays, with Santander for the World Series and the playoffs, wanted him to be in there as much as they could, and it just didn't end up working. But after that, it felt like that this process could have been started a little bit earlier. So there is a frustration there, obviously. But in terms of the replacements now, again, you're hoping for a lot of best case scenario on this team, and that's never a spot where I love to be in. The pitching part of it now makes a little bit more sense why they were over aggressive in adding to the rotation with Cease, with with Ponce, and still keeping Barrios around. It felt like they had extra guys, and it was like, okay, well, if Barrios is staying, how are they going to make all of this work? And again, a reminder, the Blue Jays needed over 10 starters to get through the season last year. Spencer Turnbull started a game for Toronto last year. So there's obviously a need for major league quality starting pitching depth, and you get smacked in the face with it right away, as Francis is gone for the year, and Bieber, it may not be as long of a timetable for him as maybe a lot of people thought it would be when that news initially came down. It sounds like he's not as far off, so you're still, I think, going to be okay there, but all of a sudden, that depth dwindles a little bit. And there's reports today that maybe Max Scherzer is back in the Blue Jays' plans here, and they're working towards somewhat of an agreement. I think Toronto, much like they were with the offense last season, mixing and matching, putting guys in different spots that maybe aren't as traditional, but still kind of working through a few of those things, I think they're going to do that now on the pitching side, where maybe not a platoon, but maybe you skip a Gausman one time through, and maybe you skip a Yasavage one time through, and a Ponce one time through, and Barrios, and now Scherzer's in this spot, and it's Lauer here, and it's that. Like, I think Toronto is going to be very creative, very protective of the arms that they have in the bullpen and in the starting rotation, because A, it's a long season, and B, you know how important all those guys can be come playoff time, but also, as you saw last year, every game is vital for this Blue Jays team, and so you don't want to force a guy out there for 5 innings, but then you don't have him for 2 months. Let these guys build into it, let them be ready for a postseason push again, for this Toronto team. So I think Toronto is going to be all right still pitching wise. The offense, I still think it'll be okay. I was looking out there like some people with, oh, well, Castellanos, is that a fit? Defensively, it's absolutely not. And it does feel like there was a bit of a locker room thing there in Philadelphia toward the end that maybe wasn't ideal. Like, Starling Marte is still out there. If you can get the best part of a platoon, I guess you could maybe end up having that work out as well. But Toronto is, again, going to come into the season with an offense that, on paper, it's a lot of guys that stepped up for you last season, but it is also, again, a lot of guys that didn't necessarily light the world on fire before last year, but they put themselves in a lot of good spots with platoons. They're going to have to do that again. They're going to have to work very hard to keep the offense going again here for the Blue Jays. The trade, of course, Jesus Sanchez for Joey Loperfido. Sanchez, there's a lot of underlying numbers that tell you that there could be something unlocked there. And so Toronto taking that chance. And Loperfido, I know a lot of people were kind of into him. 27 years old, strikes out a ton, and was bouncing between AAA and the majors. If it was going to happen, it wasn't going to happen here. So get something back for him. Yes, it's a bit more expensive, but it kind of fits a little bit more of what you're looking to do. It probably means Lucas starts the season on the bench. I don't love how outfield heavy that makes the bench, but because of the flexibility where Barger can come into the infield and play, where Clement can play all of the positions on the infield, Okamoto and Vladdy can flip-flop third and first. Apparently Okamoto can play some outfield as well. The Blue Jays have a little bit of flexibility there. So again, they're going to have to be very creative in putting everything together with this offense. I will say, the one wish list thing that I have is Stephen Kwan from the Guardians. They're trying him out in center field this year, apparently, as well. But, like, Sanchez maybe changes the math on this a little bit. But Kwan, I think, is still the perfect guy for this offense. Again, doesn't strike out a lot. Has a speed component that not a lot of players on this team have. And, like, you put him... Springer is probably going to want to stay as the leadoff guy, but you put Kwan as a leadoff man, Springer as a 2, Vladdy as a 3, or flip-flop Springer and Kwan if Springer is hell-bent on being the leadoff dude. What a perfect table setter that would be for Vlad Guerrero Jr. Now, the Guardians may not be thrilled to trade away one of the best hitters in baseball a year after winning the American League Central, but he is in the final year of a contract. He does have arbitration, but the extension talks apparently didn't really go the way that they all wanted him to. And this is like the third year in a row that everyone's anticipating, no, now is going to be the year that Cleveland falls off. So that's still the one that is the fingers crossed wish list one for me from a Blue Jays perspective. But as it sits right now, again, not the best start that you wanted to the spring, but as it sits right now, this is still a team that should be competing for the American League East and for the American League pennant again, so we can get another one of these hats in 2026. It's going to take a lot of hard work, once again, from the lineup construction and everything like that to try to manufacture the best offense that this team possibly can. Where are you guys at? It was a little doom and gloom to start. Feels like optimism starting to round out a little bit now. Where are you guys at as we head into spring training? Let me know in the comments, or if you're listening to this in podcast form, hit me up on social media and we can talk about it there. Normally we do stream these live on a few different platforms over on Twitch, on Kick, and on YouTube. For Twitch and Kick, it is twitch.tv/primetimepk, kick.com/primetimepk, or youtube.com/@couchpotatodiary. Again, hoping to go live after the Canada game against the United States in men's Olympic hockey, but going live a lot as baseball season rapidly approaches and we get our MLB season previews going here in just a little bit. That's going to do it for the show today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me here as we get ready for a very big weekend in the sports world and a very big stretch in the world of professional wrestling with some boxing thrown in as well. Didn't get to that today, but a lot going on out there. As always, Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We are presented by Sea of Dead. Head over to seaofdead403.ca and get all that great Calgary swag. If you are watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well, and if you could leave a comment on the show, let's keep the conversations going. All that stuff really, really does help this channel grow and lets us do these a little bit more regularly. If you are listening, hit that subscribe button, leave a review, all of that, again, helps to grow the show. Follow me on social media. I am at PrimetimeKlein on Instagram, X, TikTok, Threads, and Blue Sky. It's been a blast chatting with you guys. Thank you so much for all the patience around the show. We'll get back to things regular soon, maybe, here on Couch Potato Diary. Have a great weekend, everybody.